guys, good to see you all again. In the previous video, we utilized the Django forms in order to save our data in the table. Now in this video, we are going to use the model form. So let's get started. As you all know, we already have a model with the name user. So what we are going to do is we are going to generate a form based on this existing model. This will simplify the creation and will save the data directly to the database. So for this, first of all, you must open the forms.py and you are required to first import your model. From models, import user model. Then create a class. You need to create a class. Let's say Signup form 1, and you have to use forms.ModelForm. Now let's try to understand what is this model form. The model form in Django is a class that helps us in automatically generating a form based on an existing Django model. Now, after this, we are going to create a subclass called as meta, where the model to be utilized is a user model, and what fields are required. We need underscore all fields. Meta here is an inner class used inside the model or form to provide the metadata. So it defines extra options or configurations related to the model or the form. And all here means that you need to include all the fields from the user model in the form. Let's now import our form and the model. From .forms, import our signup form 1, the one that we just created. And then you need to import the models, import your user model. Now create the function. Let's say I would like to create signup form, signup2 you can say. Pass the request parameter. Alright, so initially what we do, let's take account created as false, just like we did in the previous example. And just like in the previous example, we are also going to check that if the request.method is a post method, then form equals to signup form 1 request.post. And then you check that if form dot is underscore valid, then form dot save. So you don't have to really specify all the fields here. If you want to save all the fields data, all the form data, you can simply write form dot save. And then account created is set to true. We need this variable because we want to display a message that account created successfully. Now you can use else part form. We are doing it so that we can work upon the get method. For the very first time when you go to the URL, you will be able to see the form. Return render request, and now you can create your HTML file that is a template signup2.html. Also share your form as a dictionary. Use account created variable set it key, set the key as account underscore created, whose value is account underscore created. Let's create the template. Signup2.html. Use a little bit of HTML template, and you can change the title to sign up form using model form. You can use one H2 heading. Let's say sign up. All right, let's create our form tag within which method should be post method. We also need a CSRF token and now render your form. So rendering the form is exactly like we do in Django form. Now you can include your submit button. Value equals to sign up. Now you can check the variable that if account created successfully. So if this variable is set to true, then there should be a message as account created successfully. Sign up to. Let's check if there are any errors. Okay, there seems to be one. Let's go to views.py. You have to write form equals to sign up form 1. All right, so no more errors. Let's check for the result by following the link. Okay, so localhost 8000. Let's go to sign up to. Right, we got the result, and let's check. Okay, so I'll click on sign up. User with this email ID. Okay, so I'll write here nav1@gmail.com. Account has been created successfully. So you can now check your database, your table. You can now check for the record that is inserted, right? So you can see the record that we just created. Right, so this looks great. Let's take this example a bit further. We are going to perform the CRUD operations. So what we want is, right now we are able to save the data, but we would also like to edit or delete the data. For this, we will first of all have to fetch all the records on the browser so that we can have corresponding edit button and delete buttons, so that we are able to update the data and delete the data accordingly. So let's make some changes in this. First of all, let's create a variable that stores all the data of the model. So we need to use user, that is user model.objects.all function. This will hold, this function is actually going to fetch all the data, and user variable holds all that data. Secondly, we are now required to pass this user as a dictionary in the return render function. So what we are going to do, we are going to first of all shift this return render here right after account created equals to true, and here now we are going to pass we're going to pass form as well as the user. Right. Now, since the user has been passed as a dictionary, now we are ready to fetch this data in signup2.html. So open signup2.html. Right below this, you can use a div tag, use an h2 tag, put a heading, all users, use the template tag if users are fetched, and if okay, so if users are fetched, then use for loop for user and users. So I'll do one thing, I'll just change this one to users instead. User and users. So this implies the key that we have passed. And for. Okay, so now inside this, we are going to use a paragraph and fetch the username. Let's take a look at the model. It's username, right? So username. Also, we are going to have two hyperlinks that stands for delete. Second one stands for, let's say, edit. So let's check the data. Let's have a look on the browser. We are able to fetch something, but not exactly. Okay, so let's come back. We have to use double curly braces. And now we should be able to. Right, so you see that this much data has been retrieved from the table. Let's now work upon the delete part and the edit part. So let's have a look. First of all, the delete part will be easy because we will just have to use the function, the delete function, fetch the primary key and delete the data. And we can simply redirect. So let's create the function as delete. You need to use the request and you need to pass the ID parameter here so that we are able to refer to the data, the record the one that we want to delete using the ID. Create a variable user, use the user model objects dot get function, primary key as pk equals to id, then user dot delete. After this, you can return redirect. So redirect to what? Let's check the urls.py. You need to redirect to signup2. Right. Come to signup2.html and you will have to use the template tag URL. Use user.id. You need to pass the ID parameter here and mention the name of the URL that is supposed to delete your data. So first of all, you will have to create a URL for this and you can create it here. Path delete slash, you need to use the ID and call the delete method, that is the delete function in views.py. Name it as delete. Now this delete method this delete name for this delete path, we will be including in signup2.html. So we got our function. We also got the URL having the name as delete. And inside signup2.html, the delete link too has the reference to the delete path and the parameter ID. Let's take a look if this works. Let's click on the first data. Right, so it seems to work. Yeah, it is getting deleted. Let's also take a look at the table. This is right, so our data is getting deleted. Let's now start working on updating the data. We are going to create a function, edit. Just like deletion, here also you need to pass the ID parameter. Otherwise, we would not know which data to edit. Here too, we are going to create one variable. We will fetch the primary key of the data to be deleted, pk equals to id. Check if request dot method is a post method, form equals to signup form request dot post, and we are going to use instance equals to user. Now, what is the purpose of using instance equals to user? In Django Forms, this is a shortcut to bind the form to an existing model instance, and this helps in both pre-filling form fields and saving the updates automatically. So if you want to update your data, all you need is the pre-existing data that can be fetched into the editable form. After that, you can make changes and update your data. Now after this, we can use if form dot is valid, and then you can form dot save. Simply redirect to signup2. Redirect to signup2. Now, else, if it's a get method, then use form, create another form instance as signup form, use instance equals to user, and then need to return render request. Now we need an update form that we are going to create. Form as form, and we also need the user. Let's create our update form template, update form.html. So you can have here update user as the title. Use an h2 tag as update user information. In the form, we use method as post method. Use the CSRF token. Render your form. form dot as a paragraph and use the submit button. Value equals to update. You can also have one link to the page that takes you back to the form, the page that shows the form and the data. So you can have a hyperlink URL to sign up to. Here you can have back to sign up. Next, you create the URL as edit call the edit function, give it a name as edit. Now since we have given it the name, now you can come to signup2.html and use the URL as edit and pass the parameter. Okay, so let's take a look if this works out for us. I refresh. Okay, so right, let's come to urls.py. We forgot a comma over here. Okay, this should work now. Let's click on this ABC. I'm going to click on ABC, edit. This is the email. I'll change this one to, let's say, ABC456. I'll update. So let's check again. Right, so you can see that the data has been already updated. And from here, we can go back to the sign up. I hope you have enjoyed this example. So now we have a basic idea of setting up the database connection. We learned how to save the data in the table using the HTML form, Django form, and model form. Using model form, we also learned how to perform the CRUD operations. By the way, these CRUD operations are also possible using the HTML form or the Django form. It all depends on your preference, requirement, or choice. In the next video, we are going to fetch the data onto the template using the model, and we are also going to check how we can retrieve the images onto the browser. We are going to upload the images into the table and we are going to fetch it onto the browser. Stay tuned till that time.